Let's start the recording. Yeah. Okay, so till yesterday we have seen how to create the uh, job definition and how to create security around the job definition, and we have run it through ESS user interface, that is SRS user interface. So now let's finish the remaining part of that concurrent or the concurrent job or ESS job mechanism, that is request set, that is job set creation. And once we create the job set, then we can start with the inbound integrations. Okay, right. So what is job set? Job set, nothing but a combination of multiple jobs. Right. So if you wanted to schedule more than one job at a time in such a way that after the completion of first job, second job should run. After completion of second job, third job should run. Like that, if you wanted to schedule the jobs in a serial manner, then request set is the place to go. Similarly, if you wanted to schedule in another way, like three jobs, let's run the first three jobs parallelly. Once three jobs got completed, whatever is running parallelly, after this completion of three jobs, run the fourth job. If you wanted to, then that is also possible through the request set or job set. Okay, so where do we create this job set? So job set creation again goes to the same thing where we have been yesterday, that is main is custom enterprise scheduler. So I'm going to set up and maintenance. In setup and maintenance, I'm going to search. In this search, I'm going to manage custom enterprise. And here, so now what I will do, I'm going to create a request set to run two jobs parallelly. So my goal is to, as we have seen two jobs in the security already, that is, we have seen two jobs, send pending LDAP job and retrieve LDAP changes. So we know these two jobs. We know these two jobs and we have run this already. So let's create a request set, the combination of these two jobs. Once this first job is completed, then only we have to run the second job. Typically in production, we are going to create a request set like this actually. So in production, actually, we are going to create a request set having this job running this job first. Once this job is completed, run the second job. So what this first job will do, this first job will actually send the changes whatever we do in the HCM into the security console, that is identity management. And second job, what it will do, it will retrieve whatever changes happen identity management. Those changes will come back to the human capital management. So that is the importance of these two jobs in any environment. We have to run these two jobs every day. And if the company is bigger, if the changes are, changes to the data roles or changes to the user creations and user terminations happens very heavily in a day, then people will run these jobs twice a day. Okay, so what I will be doing, I'll be creating a job set for about these two jobs, and the order is the first job and this is the second job. That's my requirement. So where do we have, where can we find these jobs? These jobs will be available in the human capital management enterprise scheduler node. Okay, I'm going here. Now, to create a request set, there are a couple of conditions, couple of criteria has to be satisfied. Okay, so first of all, run the individual jobs and make sure they're running good. That is number one. Okay, if once you confirm that they're running good, then step two, make sure, if you remember, when I was creating the job definition, I was actually in the job definition page in the user properties, I was trying to check ext portlet container web module parameter. I was checking this. This external portlet container web module is actually specifies the name of web module for the Oracle Enterprise Scheduler user interface. Basically, if that job belongs to HCM, then this external portlet container web module will have HCM ESS user interface. If it is financial, it will have financial FSCM user interface. So depends upon the module, depends upon the application, this portlet container module parameter will be populated. So whatever jobs we decided to run, right? Whatever jobs we decided to run, we have to make sure those jobs belongs to the same web module. How do we know that? How do we know that? Typically, the mechanism is, one, you can go to the job definition and you can confirm that. Second thing, if you don't, if you want to check from the back end, you can check from the back end. We have a table called ESS request property table. Actually, I have mentioned the database tables of the ESS in this PPT, so you'll know that. So there is a table called ESS request property table. ESS request property table. So this table actually we can give request ID as a parameter, as a criteria, and as I said, first criteria, run these two jobs. If we know the request ID of these jobs, then give request ID equal to something, and let's start from request ID equal to whatever job you run. If you know the request ID of the job, give that request ID here and query it from the back end. Then you will get the value column. That value column will have the external port, what is that? External portlet container web module, basically. So how we need to do request ID equal to that one, and name is equal to that external portlet container web module. So this is what you need to do. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what I will do before doing anything, let me go and run it from backend. Okay, to run the backend, typically I go to the BS server directly. I will just take it off everything. At the end, just append analytics. Then we will be landing into the BS server. Okay, before going to BS server, as I was saying that we need request ID of this job. So to find the request ID of the job, I will go to tools, schedule processes. We have run the job already, so I will just pull that job. So I'll go to search, expanding the search in the SRS user interface. I will just take out the time, and I will say, because we have ran this process many times, so just send LDAP. So it will pull out all the jobs ran with the name as send LDAP. Okay, so we want send pending LDAP job. Okay, so get the request ID. I'm just showing the other mechanism. You can go to front end job definition and look at it. You can do that as well. So I'm just showing how to do it from backend. Okay. Similarly, I want to try LDAP changes. Yeah, I will just take a note of this request ID as well. Okay,
So yeah, ESS request underscore property, and web request ID equal to this one, and portlet container web module. Yeah. So I will take this. So to run a database query, we just need to go to new and by publisher reporting, go to data model. In the data model, just go to the new data set as a SQL query. Just give some anything. You can give any name you want. I will just give it to Fusion HCM, and I'll give this. So yep, request ID. Yeah, I think it don't have the. Okay, so you can see that here we have the name as external portlet container module, and it belongs to value Oracle HCM user interface. Okay, it's confirmed. And make sure the other request ID has also same thing. So I'm going to so both are of HCM user interface. It means these jobs are eligible to be scheduled in one request set. That is validation number one. Validation number two, basically. So yes, it got passed. So yes, both belongs to the same thing. And last thing we need to do, make sure they are of belongs to same application. Most of times, whenever this module is same, then application also be same. There won't be any case like that. But for to make sure, you can run that run this query, ESS request history query. It's property, and I'm just running from history query to make sure they belongs to same application. Okay, so here the application is ER HCM ESS and ER HCM ESS. So both belongs to the same application. So validation number 3 is successful. Then you can go ahead and create the request set. Okay, so now I'm going here and going back to the main custom enterprise scheduler. As both the jobs are available in the HCM module, I am going to the main custom enterprise scheduler for HCM. Okay, so here go to manage job sets, and in manage job sets you can go ahead and start creating your job sets. So here I'm going to create one, and in this I will going to create a job set for this one. So rainbow LDAP changes request set. Okay, so the same name, set. Security data. Between HR and IDM. Okay, so custom, you can give your own thing, that's not a problem. And then what we are planning to do, we are planning to run these two jobs in a serial mode. So the custom job set should be in serial mode. Okay, let's go ahead and create it. Okay, before creating it, you have to you should know that that whatever LDAP job you are looking at, that should be available in the job definition. If it's not available in the job definition, then it won't be showing up here. Okay, so step ID number 1. Okay, LDAP 1, and then job. We should exactly know the job definition name. Whatever we see in the ESS user interface, that's a display name. We should exactly know the name of it. So I think the name starts with ASE, because all the security jobs starts with the application security module. So start with ASE. Okay, so I'm not sure. So what I will do, I will just go ahead and open different window. So display name, we know the display name. So I am giving the display name. Okay, so send pending LDAP request. So it is called process LDAP request. Just opening up. Okay, so the name is process LDAP request. I'm just taking the name of it, and sorry, and I'm going to look for retrieve LDAP. So it is having a sync roles job is the name of it. Let's take a copy of it. Okay. Now I'm going here. So yeah, it's not the name. So it was when process lab request. Message for that job. So process LDAP request. So I'm just taking it. Okay. And insert into main diagram. So I'm going to insert into main diagram. So let's add it. Now the next job is retrieve LDAP changes. So let's add a next one. Synchronous job. So lab 2. So every job will have application defined properties. That application defined properties should always be based on the job definition. Those properties will get populated. One of the properties, if you want to show that job to, if you want to show the job on SRS window, then application defined properties will say SRS flag equal to Y, something like that. If you go to application defined properties for the job, it will say that what is the portlet. Uh, yeah, I think it will add it at the end. Once we define it, it will add here, it will come here. So let's see that. So I'm adding it. So here we have added two jobs. See that for this application defined properties came SRS flag equal to Y. It means that show this job set in the ESS user interface. And second thing, what is a portlet container web module? The value is Oracle HCM UI. These two should be there. And we have to add one more system property for any job request, that we have to mention what application these two jobs belongs to. So we just need to go ahead and add the effective application. If you won't add that effective application, then SRS window will throw out an error. So we typically have to add effective application, and that application should be the one we just queried, EAR HCM ESS. Okay, it's okay. So effective application is added. So job request is created. Now in this request, we have a properties. So if got errored out, what should be done? Just stop it and don't go here. If you think that if it errored out, maybe in our cases, if errored out, just stop it. If it is warning, then no need to worry. Just go to the identity management and pull back the changes. It means go to the step 2, even if it is in warning status. If it is success, then go to the step 2. And if step 2, if it is failed, anyway, as we don't have any next step, we can stop it. In the warning case, we can stop it. And then after success, then stop it. So we have scheduled like this, right? And we can have we can have a parallel job sets too. We can make jobs to run parallel, and create the request setters too. Okay, so let's try running this one. So I'm just on if it is set, so save and close. Okay, so whenever you say invalid XML attribute, it means that whatever field they're saying, name field, we should not have spaces. Invalid XML means XML character should not, XML field should not have the spaces in that. So what happens typically internally, what happens is when I create a job set, a metadata will be created on this job set. Metadata nothing but XML file. So XML file will go by the name RB LDAP changes request set. So I'm just taking out the spaces, and then display name will show up for us while submitting the job. So it has spaces, so it should be good. Let's save and close. Okay, now it is created. So now we are all set to run this job. Okay, click on done. Okay. Okay, so I am going home again, and I am trying to submit the request set. As I am administrator, I have access to all the jobs. If you want to give permission to the jobs to any specific role, you have to run the import and load data program, and then the duty role will be created. The duty role has to be added to the respective job role, and that user can see that. Okay. But in our case, we should be good because this admin user has access to everything. So schedule new process. In this, till now we are selecting the job. Now we have to set the job set. The job set, we can go ahead and choose the job set that we have created. RB LDAP change request set. If you see that it is the display name, basically, it is not showing the actual request set name. And I'm going to submit it. So it will show us two jobs now, job 1 and job 2. If job 1 takes some parameters, it will ask what are the parameters for job 1 and what are the parameters for job 2. So job 1 is send pending LDAP request, and it will ask what parameters we have to take. So I'm just giving all and A. A means changes happen from the last run, and retrieve LDAP changes. So retrieve LDAP changes, basically it doesn't have any parameters. We should be good. Okay. Now I'm going to schedule. What I'm going to do, I'm going to schedule it, because anyway we have to make it run every day from now on till the instance is active. So I'm going to schedule it. Use a schedule. And run it daily. Daily 2 a.m. should be good. So let's do it up to 2020. Okay. Now next thing is notification. So now whenever this job runs, I want to get notified. Okay. To get the notification, typically what we need to do here, we actually need to give the username of the person to whom we wanted to send the notification. It should not be the email address, it should be the recipient. So the recipient username, we should know that recipient username. So I think Curtis PT. So this is the username I'm giving. So whenever this job runs, this person will get notification to this person email address and as well as in the bell icon. So on what condition this person should get notified? Only on warning, on error, reminding everything should be good. So click on OK. And you can add as many recipients as you want. There's no limitation for that. Okay, perfect. And click on submit. Okay, I this job
instead of yeah, Lakshmi, small question.
Sure.
So can we send mails to instead of notification along with output here?
Here it whatever we are defining here actually we can send to the user defined in the Fusion application only. We cannot send to the individual emails. If you wanted to go for individual emails, I actually write be a report on top of the results and send it to the email addresses. So in the BA report, we have a provision to deliver to the email address, but in the ESS user interface, whatever notification that should be going to the user available in this Fusion applications, because ESS is a part of the Fusion application, so it allows only the user. So in that case, you may need to create that person as a contact or someone in the application with a dummy contact and the username, and then send it out. But I mean, what could be the business case you could think of that we need that sent to an external email address? So if it is external email address, so most probably we have to do outside of the Fusion application through BA server probably. Okay, so does it answer your question? So do you have any other?
Yeah.
Okay. So blank set is not supported, so I will just say everything after something like that. So now what happens, as it is scheduled, it will be in the wait status. It will keep waiting. It will be keep waiting in the, I'm going to talk about these statuses in a while. It will keep waiting in the ESS node. And whenever the time comes, the scheduler will allocate the resource to execute this job based on the priority. Okay, and this will get executed. Okay. This is how the requester should be created. So let's go further and see the final concepts of the middleware components concepts of the ESS engine. Okay, so there are a couple of terminologies which actually we will be using if we have the Fusion middleware access, and these are the key components basically. One is a schedule. Just now we had a schedule, right? That is nothing but a schedule, where actually a schedule is a predefined time or a recurrence for a period of time are indefinite. And the schedules are defined independent of jobs but associated with one or more jobs at runtime when request is submitted. So schedule is more related to the request than the job. Okay, whenever request is submitted, a schedule will be created. Whenever the schedule is created, then there comes a work shift. Work shift is the one which defines the resources, how many threads we have to run for that request, and how to handle the throttling. And this resource, basically work shift define the resources to be allocated and duration for which resources are available for the job request. Okay, whenever the job is scheduled, and work shift is the component, is the middleware component which define which resources has to be allocated and what time the resource should become active to pick up the job and run it. Okay, and there is one more thing called specialization, which actually defines a criteria to select the job request. Okay, whenever we define a request, that request may have a request set. That request that request may be a standalone job, and that job belongs to some different application or different product, or those set of jobs belongs to the same category, or this specialization actually an inbuilt component which typically identifies how to pick the job at the scheduled time and give it to the resources based on the work shift allocation and get the job executed. So specialization is another component which select job and job sets based on different criteria, the quickest way, whatever they can pull up the job. So specialization is a component of the ESS node again. Okay, and the last but one is a work assignment. So work assignment, typically what happens, it maps a set of work shifts to jobs selected through specialization. So it will combine these things together. So maybe if I show the next diagram, it makes more sense. So work shift, once we schedule it, then work shift typically assign the resources, define the resource, what to be allocated for the schedule. And specialization is the one which will, based on the work shift, it will define how to pull the job set and job definition. And while getting it, it will also identify whether it is serial or parallel execution. And work assignment is the one which actually select the jobs and assign the resources. And resources, nothing but a physical request processor. Basically, this is the request physical component which will binds everything together and run the jobs. It's just a terminology what we have to understand if and whenever we come across any middleware components. Mostly, if we have a Fusion middleware DBA, people will take care of these things. But I just want to show you the terminology of that. And I will just show you the sequence of how the event happens. So when user submits a request using client application, that client application can be ESS user interface, SRS user interface, or that can be a custom page through which we are submitting the concurrent job, or from PL/SQL component we can submit the ESS job. Okay, so that can be any client application. Then that client application sends the request to ESS, that is Enterprise Scheduler Service, and ESS reads the metadata for the request. Okay, the XML file of the request, whatever job definition, whatever job data it is, and it puts the request in a wait queue in the ESS runtime data store along with the metadata. Okay, and based on the schedule and request processor availability, ES sends a message to the hosted application with all the request parameters and metadata captured at the time of the submission. And hosted application performs the jobs and returns the status, and ESS update the job request status. And if there is any log files or output files, those log files or output files will be uploaded to the universal content manager. Okay, so next diagram will quickly show you. So request submitted by the user, it will keep waiting, and work shift and request processor availability. It will get ready for running. And if it see any incompatible job, then it will go to block status. And until once the incompatible job completes running, it will till then it will go for a wait and then go for ready status again and keep running. And sometimes admin can hold the job which is running, and once the admin releases the job, it will go to the running status again. Once it keep running, it will have the status of warning or success or error. In the error status, we can configure to retry it, how many times you want to retry the job. We have seen that in the job definition, and number of retries, it will keep retrying, and once number of retries completes, it will finish it off in any of these three statuses. Okay.
And you said something like metadata. What is that?
Yeah. So when we create a job definition, right? So whenever we create any job definition anywhere, so this information will be stored in the metadata in XML file. So this metadata will be.
I'm trying to understand exactly that. Say the metadata, meaning stores in any kind of database, or where exactly it is stored when we define that?
So whenever I say metadata anywhere about any component in the, especially in Fusion applications,
okay,
the metadata is actually an XML file, and that XML file will be stored in a tables called MDS tables, metadata services tables.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the meaning of it. It's about data. It's a job, and this definition about this job, and whatever data we have, this will be stored in we create an XML file, and that XML format will be stored in the MDS tables.
Okay, this XML file will be communicated to different applications.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So because and when it's about XML files, so in the Fusion, especially as the architecture is changed compared to what we have in the legacy system in the e-business suite. In the e-business suite, if someone worked on the Oracle application framework, OAF, if you see OAF, all the personalizations will be stored in the form of metadata, MDS files, MDS tables. They call it as JDR tables. So same methodology is being applied in the Fusion as well. Any component, any page component, or any business component, or any business object. So when I say business component, I could say job is a business component. When I say business object, any business object like a location is a business object, or a ledger is a business component, so a business object. and job is a business object, or grade is a business. Everything is a business object. Even the business object details will also be stored in the metadata, and that metadata internally will call the real database objects. I will cover that when I talk about ADF framework. There I will talk about the MEC architecture and MEC2 architecture actually, and there I will talk about these components in detail.
Yeah, sure. This is maybe a little bit out of the context. They talk about JSON also, right? I mean,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
in this, they say like, XML is heavy file. I mean, JSON is Oracle is also moving towards something like JSON, or?
Yes. So JSON, right? So Oracle, I mean, while storing the data in the Oracle architecture, the data will be stored in the XML format. JSON, basically, we use JSON as well. So we use JSON basically when we engage into the web services. So when we work with the web services, then their data will be transmitted between two systems. Some of the web services will transfer the data between the two systems in the form of a JSON format, because JSON format is different, right? It's object format.
Okay.
Whereas XML is a tags format. So as XML is difficult to understand, I mean, because our systems are growing, XML has all the tags and difficult to understand. They came up with this object way of sending the data between the two systems. So when we talk about web services, JSON is heavily involved. But when we talk about the architecture, how the data is being stored in the Fusion application, XML is the one in the MDS format.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So finally, I have given some of the tables here, which typically we use to pull the like how we in EBS, what we have concurrent request, and similar to that, this is the request history, request metadata. There are a couple of tables I have mentioned here. There are more number of tables. Basically, these are the tables which may be frequently using based on the need, and yeah. With that, I think I completed the ESS fundamentals, and I have included a couple of slides actually. If we define a PLSQL component in the Fusion application, if that PLSQL component, if you want to register that as a ESS job, then we have to make sure that procedure should have the error buff and return code as 2 parameters. That is mandatory, and then you can have the additional parameters. And these additional parameters, you can keep up to 100 additional parameters to that PLSQL component, which you want to register in the Fusion applications. So once you have this PLC, it's same as EBS, nothing different. Once you create the PLSQL component, you just need to make sure you give, once you execute and compile it, you have to make sure you grant the permission of this PLSQL component to Fusion apps execute. In EBS, we used to give permission, to app schema. In Fusion, we have to give permission to Fusion apps execute schema, the grant permission of this package, so that that program can be registered as a job in the Fusion applications. Okay. Similarly, if you want to go for a Java program which you want to register as a concurrent job, when I talk about ADF, I will talk about JDeveloper. In JDeveloper, we have to create a project, and then we have to include this enterprise scheduler extensions package, jar file, basically, which we can download from the Fusion middleware, and we have to extend the jar file. You have to keep the jar file in your Java project, because it's nothing but set of classes from which you can extend. The sum of the classes we have to extend 2 classes, basically, executable and cancelable. So runnable and cancelable, we have to extend those 2 classes. If someone is aware of Java components, we have to implement those 2 classes, and then we have to create the Java project to implement those 2 interfaces. This package, this jar file should be imported in our project, basically. Once we have that, then just go ahead and create the Java class file. Basically, it is the class which actually I think I have the code. I cannot demonstrate it, but when I talk about ADF, I can create some class which ESS specific Java class, and I can show you that. But for now, I will just show you the code. Okay, so it's just implementing this executable and cancelable. So executable, actually, to get this interface, actually we have kept that jar file there, and once we have it, then in this class we have to implement a method called execute. This is important. In this execute method, if you implement this execute method, only then this class file can be registered as a ESS job. Okay, and it will take two parameters to execute context and request context and request execution context and request parameters. And here again, we can pass up to 100 parameters, and a request execution context typically will have the context of the job definition. And we just wrote some output over the file. That's it. We didn't do anything here. We just print some statements. We are just printing the request ID and username and parameter 1 and directory. We are just printing it out the page. That's it. Nothing we are doing here. So we have to create something like that. The important thing you have to note here is we have to implement this interface, and in that we have to implement execute method with these two parameters. If you create a program like this, then you can register this class and this method, this class as a ESS job definition. That is important to understand. Okay, so once we create that, we have to compile it and create a jar file and deploy the jar file into the Fusion middleware. So you just need to copy the jar file to this whatever domain, if financial web top, or HR web top, and then in the AAR file, just in the app INF library, just copy the jar file, and so copy the jar file, just recycle that ESS server, then that class file will be available to create a job definition in our ESS scheduler. Okay, once it is done, then we can ready to use the Java class. Okay, we cannot do this because we don't have access to middleware. Okay, right, with that, I think we have completed ESS scheduler. So next topic is the inbound integrations. So before going to integration, actually some of the people got missed today because of meeting ID got changed. So before going to the inbound integrations, what I will do, I will use this 30 minutes of time to talk about our pending finance security role concept. Okay. So any questions on the ESS jobs? Okay. Take it as no questions.
Lakshmi, will you be sending the PDF format of the PPT?
Yep, I will be.
Okay. So the previous ones also, you know, the other ones which you've gone through. So we have not received those.
Okay, yeah. Security, I didn't send it actually because security was keep on evolving. But I think now security is also got completed. So I will send out the security and ESS.
You'll email it to us, or you'll upload it on the...
I think Ravi used to email those things every time, I guess.
Okay, so then if you can just request him to...
Sure, I will.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So for the inbound integrations, before talking about inbound integrations, as I said, I will take this 30 minutes to talk about the financial security role that we missed last time. I'll quickly demonstrate that thing. Okay, so the example what I will take, we have the financial analyst role, right? So we have this financial analyst job role. So what I will do, I will assign this financial analyst job role to a user. Okay, that user doesn't have access to any data. Okay, and I just blindly assign this job role to the user, and I will log in as the user, and let us see, access the journal screen and see what the user can see. Okay, and then we will go back to the user again, and we will try to assign the data access to the user. Okay, we have given the job role without data and see how it works. After that, we will give the data access to the user, like how we have given the security profiles to the user in the HCM. Similarly, we give data access to the user, and again we'll go back and see how does it work. Okay, so for that, what I will do, I will take the financial analyst user that we have created. I don't know, I always wonder. Okay, so I am taking this user and I am taking out whatever roles this person has. I will take out all these roles. Okay, I'm taking out all these roles, and I'm going to assign a plain role that is just a job role. Okay, financial analyst job role. Okay, so we have to take the job role, start with ORA. We should not take this one. I have taken this one and adding the role membership. Okay, done. It's done. So save and close. Done. Okay, as let's go log out and log in as that user. Financial analyst RB. Yeah. So now I'm going to journal screen. So when access to journal screen, so typically what happening here, it is asking to choose what ledger you wanted to see or what business unit journals you wanted to see. As I don't have any data, it is showing me a blank like this, saying that you don't have access to anything. So you can't do anything here because you don't have any access. That's why it's coming up like this, because we have sent a job role, but we haven't given the data access. Okay, so now what we need to do, we have to give the data access to the user. So how do we give data access to the user? Okay, so let me quickly open the security one and I will show you. Clicking OK, and I will start giving the data access to the user. Yeah, it doesn't have anything, so it will throw error. So yeah, basically it's strong, so it won't help us anyway. Okay, so I am going to log out. Inconsistent behavior because of this. It's enough. So I am logging out and I'm going to log in as some administrator user. Admin user can be anything, can be MIMPL1 or can be financial IMPL, can be anything. Okay, so anything will work. I don't have the user name, so I will just go with HMIMPL1. As long as you have application implementation consultant role assigned, that person will become administrator. Okay, so I'm going now. Now, how do we act? How do we give the data access to the user? Okay, for that, in the security, I was talking about for the HCM, we can give security profiles. For the FSCM, we have to give the data context, data access. And there are two ways we can give data access to the I have a diagram here, something like this. So Fusion HCM, we can give security profile, and here we can actually give the data access. So for that, we have some screen called manage data access set. So let me see, here it is. Yeah, manage data access user interface. So we have to, I am going to that screen. Manage data access for users. So here we need to assign we need to give based on what kind of ledgers or what kind of components that user can access. So this screen will have two things: users without data access, users with data access. If any user has some or other data access, then you can go here. If you want to see a user who don't have any access, then you can go to the screen. Okay, so I will go to this, search for the user name, go here, and I will try to search for username financial analyst, because I know that person doesn't have any access to any components. So I'm trying to search for the financial analyst, not RB user. This person is there in this. So if you see here, this person doesn't have any access to any components, any ledgers, any business units, any legal entities. This person doesn't have access to anything. If you see, this person will have all the roles, but that person doesn't have any security context value. Okay, we know this person has a financial role, analyst role, but this person doesn't have access to anything. So how does it work is this screen, how does the security work in the financial world is we define for that specific job role, which business unit this person should have access to. For the financial analyst job role, which ledgers this person should have access to. If a person has multiple roles, then each role we can define which business units, which ledgers, which cost organizations, or which department this person should have access to. We can define it in this screen. Okay, as this person doesn't have any security context value, what we are going to do, I am going to create a security context here. So I'm going to plus here, adding it, and I'm going to search for the username here. So yeah, for this user, whenever I choose the user, automatically the roles It will here we can see this person has what role this person has.
Let me have a question right here.
Uh-huh.
You already selected username and role in the previous screen. You can see in the background.
Actually, I just searched it there. Actually, I didn't do anything.
But then when you did create data access,
Uh-huh.
you were on that record, right?
Correct. So yeah, I didn't. I mean, actually, in this window, basically, there's no edit. Actually, everything is addition.
Oh, okay. So you have to give again. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, I wanted to start the inbound integration topic from here. That's why I'm just giving the fundamental like this. I will going to expand this one a little more. Security context is data access set. So security context, actually, there are two kinds of security context, direct access and indirect access. I will talk about that in a while. And here security context value. Based on the financial analyst, a data access set is already defined. And here, these are all the things what this financial analyst job role will have access to. So out of this, which one our user should able to access? Which ledger we should give access to this user? So I'm just saying is not blank and I'm giving search. So it is going to show all the ledgers out of which we have to choose what ledger you are trying to give access, right? So I will try to give access to some US or UK ledger because that ledger will have some journals which we can test out. So it is showing only the ledgers. So why it is not showing the remaining components? Why it is not, like example, why it is not showing the cost organization or why it is not showing the business unit like that? Because this role, this job role work only on the ledgers. So how do we know this job role works only on the ledgers? Because that is where the data security policies defined on the job role will define. It says that it can work only on the ledgers. Okay, if you open this job role and go to data security policies, there it will define data security policy saying that all the data access set should be the ledger for which this person is authorized to. That is the reason only ledgers are coming up here. If you have
can you select that value? Can you select that security context list of values?
Yeah. Because
only data access set. That means only for ledgers.
Yes.
Okay.
This definition comes from the data security policies defined on this predefined role.
Can we see that after the screen?
Yeah, we can see that. Okay, so I'm saving and close. Okay, so yeah, I got this now. Okay, it's not yet came up. So if I go and this person won't be there in this user without data access anymore because this person got the role assigned, security context value assigned. That's why you have to go to users with data access. Here, you can see that person now. If you go and search for this person in the screen, okay, so if you see this person and which context values you wanted to see for the row for this role, okay, actually it is a 2-star, so I think one is good enough. Any of the values good enough to search all the values here. See here, so username financial analyst, we have defined the UK secondary ledger. So now we have given the data access to this user. Okay, we are going to test it. Before going to test it, think of a real scenario. If you wanted to assign the data access set across our company, example, if we have hundreds of thousands of people, then how do we do that? Or if you acquire a new company, or if implementing financials for another country within your company, and if you wanted to assign the roles to data access to those people, how do you do that in bulk? Okay, for that, Oracle has given two options. One is through spreadsheet data loader, other one is through web services. So we have a spreadsheet data loader using this button. I'm going to come again to this button tomorrow when I talk about inbound integration. Just take a note of it. Okay, I'll talk about this tomorrow again. Done.
Lakshmi,
Uh-huh.
how do you check that what are the jobs that have been scheduled in the ESS? Is there any way?
We have a way actually. Just go to the ESS scheduler as administrator and look for the status as wait. So in this, go and look for the status as wait. So if you go and search for wait, you can see all the jobs which are scheduled. This is one way. Okay, I think I'm signed out. One way. Other way is to go to backend and query for that table. I have given this a metadata table, sorry, database tables. You can, if you query those tables also, you can go and see that.
Okay.
Yeah, there are many ways for that. If you have a middleware access from enterprise manager also, you can see. Okay, now I'm logging out and I'm going to logging in as that user now. Okay. Now again, I will go back to the journal screen. So now, as the person has only one data access set, then automatically this person should be able to see the UK ledgers here. See that only one access set is there. If a person has more than one data ledgers, then typically it will ask for the window. It will ask for what ledger you wanted to choose. So based on that, you can see the data here. So basically, for UK ledger, you could be able to see the journals here. Okay, so that's how the data security works in this FSCM. Okay, now let's go back and Pradeep has a question in the data security policy. How do we know only the ledgers? Okay, for that, what I will do, I will just sign out here and I will go back and log in as administrator. And I'll go to the security console. Yeah, so this job is not run. I told you this job has to run every 24 hours. So when I was creating a request set, I haven't added this job in the request set actually. So because we know this job has to be run every time. This job has to be run after the send pen request LDAP and send pending LDAP jobs. We have to run this job, but I haven't added that in the request set. The reason is this job is not available to create in the request set. Oracle hasn't given that. They are considering it for future release. Maybe release 13, it will come. This one will come up in that request set window. That is the reason I didn't add it actually. So we have to schedule this one as well. So we will schedule it anyway. I'm just taking a note here. Else it will come every day. So I'm going to here. Let's go to financial analyst. Job, oh sorry, this is not the one. Yeah, financial analyst job role. Go to, just click on edit role. Maybe you cannot modify it. Go to this data security policies. It has many data security policies. So I will see that. Do you journal For view journal, data security policy, how we defined is access the general ledger data access set for table GL access sets for the general ledger data access sets for which they are authorized. Whatever they are authorized, only those general ledgers the user can see in the general screen. That is the reason when we are looking at that when we're looking at that person. So when we're looking at that, when we are looking for that person, it is asking for the ledger to give access to, because this is what we have defined. If we have defined example, let us say in the same window, let me take Australia primary ledger. There actually the way it was defined is different. In the Australia ledger, what they did is they had given here itself, if it is ledger ID is equal to Australia, give access to. That's what it was defined. That is the reason if we assign the Australia ledger to any user, if the user log in with that job role, automatically they will get access to the Australia ledger. Let me open that in different window. It's more of a functionality, basically. If you go to Australia primary ledger, because this is the job role, it's a custom role defined on top of the seeded role. What they did by customizing it, they have customized it. So in the data security policies, so if we go to, let us say, journal, if you see edit data security policy, they have assigned this key by default. It means it is general ID, is a ledger ID. Basically, the GL access sets is a standard table. So here they have hard coded this ledger ID here. So it means this whoever has this data role assigned, they will be seeing the Australia ledger by default. So that's how they did it at job role level itself by creating a data security policy like that. What they did, they removed this data security policy. So if we do the quick comparison between this role and what I will do, I'll do a quick compare between the standard. Again, it's all a functionality. So if someone is not understand, it is okay. So financial analyst, I'm taking this role and I'm going to compare this role with Australia
Lakshmi.
Yeah.
See, if you have an access to UK and US general ledger, so how do you tap it in the screen? Even though I can see that two ledgers are he can access, he or she. But
Yes.
how do I get a specific ledger into journals?
So when you go to that screen, you will get a pop-up window saying choose the data access set. So you have to choose one of that. Okay. And click OK and go to that. You can see that. And if you switch the data access set, then at the top left side top of the window, you have a drop down. You can choose the ledger whatever you wanted to. You can see the respective data. Okay, so what I will do initially I will do only by the roles. If there any comparison, any change between the roles. So see, compare. Most probably all the roles will be the same. I mean, there won't be any difference between. There are duty roles that changed. Okay. So basically, okay. If you see that it is not there in the custom in the seeded role, they add in the custom role. Some additional access is given in this custom role. Okay, and I won't take the inherited roles. I will take the functional security policies and do comparison. So it looks like all the privileges are available in both the screens. So let us see only in the first role. Nothing is there only in the second role. Yeah. So no difference is there in the function aggregate privileges. Sorry, so functional privileges or aggregate privilege level. If you go to data security policies, for sure you will see in the difference. So this is what the difference. So what they did, financial analyst manage business unit party tax profile for business unit for which they authorized. So it was there in the financial analyst, they have removed it. Okay. So there are many things, whichever they're saying they are authorized, they removed it. And I think they have added something like this. They defined own custom security policies. While defining the custom security policy, they didn't give any description here. They defined it, and whatever definition they have given, basically they might be hard coded that respect to ledger ID or business unit ID or whatever it is. Okay, so that's a different.
For Australia, we don't have to do managed data access set. We don't have to select security context and value because already it's by ID.
Exactly.
Okay.
They defined it already. At job role level itself, they have defined the data security policy and they're assigning the job role to the user. So that will bring the data access by default.
So what security context you will see is driven by the role definition.
Right. Exactly.
There's one more thing, Lakshmi, in finance. Data roles are not assigned, right? It's only HR concept, right? Data roles.
Data roles is HR concepts, but you use in the finance as well. Sometimes you will have a requirement that some finance user should see the data based on the organization hierarchy, something like that.
But if I do that, if I do data roles for finance, then I don't have to do managed data access set. Because anyways, I'm giving access to data, right?
Correct. But HR actually, basically we don't have security profiles based on the ledgers, based on the cost organization, based on few other components actually. HR has only control data access by business unit, by division, or by department, or by location, by position, something like that. Anything apart from that, if we need to handle, then again we have to rely on this data access set or data security policy.
Okay, so in general, finance users will have job roles with managed data access set.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very clear, Lakshmi.
Oh, thank you. I was trying. Actually, I am not a finance functional person, so I was trying my best.
Yes. Lakshmi, you have expertise in you're a functional HR person or you're only technical?
Actually, I am basically functionally I am a functional HR person, but technically I handle almost all the stuff.
So you always worked on HCM?
Functionally, yes.
Okay, that's excellent.
So technically, I was when I was working in the EBS, I was doing upgradations for all the components, finance, HR, and when coming to the Fusion, I was supporting the creation of the securities or creating the BA reports for some of the financial components like that. Only technical part, and for HCM, I used to handle all the functional part as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, tomorrow we will start freshly on the inbound integrations. So we will have some quick theory part for the first 15-20 minutes, and then we can start slowly from what we can do within the system and what we can do through file-based loading and what we can do through web services. So inbound integrations will take a little more time. So basically most of you are able to understand what I'm saying, so I think it is worth spending time on the additional components, additional concepts. So let's meet up tomorrow then.
Oh yeah, it's like so many concepts have been clarified, Lakshmi. Thanks for that.
Oh, thanks, Pradeep. So yeah, if you have any advices on any other improvements, just let me know. I can adjust accordingly for the upcoming sessions. So don't hesitate to give the feedback.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, then you all can drop off. If you have any questions, then you can shoot me.